This is the Pacific War from GMT Games. We're playing the full strategic campaign, and this is the situation at the start of April 1942. The main things to report is the Philippines is pretty much fallen now. Corridor was stormed by a Japanese amphibious landing. There is actually one isolated airbase still on the islands. That's it. Borneo is now completely under Japanese control, as is Sumatra. There are Japanese landings on Java, one of which is okay, but it's actually still linked because of these two air units cancelling each other out, but that one's actually isolated, which isn't good. The Celebes is finally being captured. That's right, everything's on there. Still Timor and Java basically to sort out. The Japanese have used up a lot of their command points bringing this huge facility, which is a 90-point command point facility, to bring it online, which gives them 45 more co-prosperity points. The Japanese made a couple of landings on New Guinea. The Australians have massively strengthened their position around Port Moresby and are now in control of Lae and this potential airport facility there. The Americans are increasing the strength of all their bases in the Western and Northern Pacific. The Allies, pretty much the British, are doing the same thing. We'll say the British, the Commonwealth, are doing the same thing in Burma and India. Nothing happening in China at the moment, or Manchuria. Well, Manchuria, nothing's going to happen anyway. You just got to retain a garrison there, but you could be swapping decent troops from that garrison out and bringing in rubbish troops from the homelands, because there are some really poor Japanese units starting to appear as reinforcements. Americans have built a couple of air bases out in the Western Pacific, strengthening positions in Australia, just to put the Japanese off the sort of thought that they might be able to just jump ashore in Australia. It's not really part of their overall plan at the moment, but it could be, depending on how things go. Americans have got another carrier, so they've got the Hornet, which is a carrier that's got to do, well, it doesn't have to do the Doolittle raid. Now, the problem with playing solo, you can't really duplicate the Doolittle raid, but what I'm going to do is just allow the Allies to launch it and make sure that it's totally undetected. The reason for that is the Japanese were certainly not expecting the Doolittle raid, so I could make it impossible for that raid to get anywhere by sticking a small carrier force out in the middle of nowhere to cover the entire Japanese coast. So that'll be a freebie uninterrupted operation for the purposes of playing solo. We've got I haven't done the submarines yet. I say I've done all the stuff for April, but I haven't really. What's outstanding? Yeah, submarines, and then determining the operational player and the contact phase and everything. Fair enough, it is the start of the turn. The thing I would say about the Japanese, alright, they haven't had horrific losses, but you feel everything. As a Japanese player, you feel even the loss of a single step of ground units, or especially a step of L2 air units, or God forbid the loss of a ship. You're feeling the noose tightening around you. Now, admittedly, the Japanese are particularly concentrating in Java at the moment, so they're not going to have a huge amount of opportunities, but they certainly will be looking at turning against the American perimeter in the Central and South Pacific areas. In terms of weather, again, we've got squall in Southeast Asia again, which and we've got rain in China. Otherwise, everything's pretty much the same. The Japanese, they're not being particularly intelligent at the use of engineers and capturing air bases, so they've not been able to use their air force as effectively as they should have done, which is something I've learnt. Not got a lot more to say at the moment. Can't think of anything else that's going on. Japanese are still using their strategic reserve, so they've built their merchant ships up above 650, so now they can get they go on the command point total at the highest level. Now, as soon as their strategic reserves disappear, it's possible for that to start going down. The actual Allies did amazingly manage to inflict some damage on the Japanese escorts and Japanese merchant fleet this time, but they've only got a small number of subs in that role at the moment, because it's not a particularly effective use of subs early on in the war because of the poor American torpedoes, which were, don't get me on that. How the hell you could actually sort of design and start building loads of torpedoes without actually testing them is just beyond me. Because not only did the magnetic sensor run too deep, also the priming mechanism when the torpedo hits a target was defective. So instead of the metal rod punching into the detonator and blowing the torpedo, it actually just bent, and the torpedo didn't detonate. So it takes the Americans a lot of time to sort that out. Obviously, there's no strategic bombing at this particular point in time because the American bomber fleets they're not available, and they wouldn't be in range anyway, even if they were available. Okay, that's it.